Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, guys. Good evening, Shravan, Mantu, and all the members in the house. ठीक है? So क्या आज IT का टॉपिक देख के bang on time, huh, people? Nice, nice, nice. Good to see. Yeah, interesting things about IT we are going to discuss, and nice to see. So it's like all the members in the house. Okay, it's going to be a really interesting and important session. Okay. अच्छा, Shenu, the birthday boy, is also here. ठीक है, ठीक है, ठीक है. Okay, guys. So yeah, chalo, thank you everybody for joining in. Okay, not sure. So maybe some of the members might have attended a few of our previous sessions, because on a regular basis, this is the third week of the program. Okay, so just let me give you a quick context. It's a total 3-week program that we do. And the core focus is step by step, we have to become capable to solve our own problems. Okay. And that's what we are trying to change our habits, upgrade our lifestyle, thought process, mindset, and our daily basis action. So this is what we have been doing it since past 2 weeks. And this is the third week where the focus is coming on as part of this IT. So yesterday we checked some of the core thought process which is required for IT success. And today is going to be even more detailed on the IT industry. Okay? And then coming tomorrow and day after tomorrow, we will be focusing upon the job hunting related process. So be it like you're a beginner in the IT, or if you're looking for a switch, and also there are some strategies which you need to be aware of, and you have to implement it in order to speed up your chances for getting the job. Okay? So we will be discussing on all of those things tomorrow. Okay? So tomorrow and day after tomorrow. So fine, right now the time is 9:02 and we will straight away get started. All of you guys are really punctual and on time, so let's not lose any of the time. Okay, chalo, fine. Now, what are we going to discuss as part of today's session? Okay, it's purely IT related. I have worked on multiple projects with different people, okay, in my full 13 years of IT experience. Okay, now as part of these projects, whatever crucial areas are there, I'm going to list down all of those things, and these all come as part of any project related life cycle. Okay, sometimes the intensity of some of these topics that we will discuss might be more high in your projects, sometimes it might be low, but majority of the times most of these things are supposed to be proper in your projects. Okay? And the thing is, everybody's life journey or IT career journey becomes key. How quickly you can learn all these areas and start performing at your job in all this. Okay? And there will be some segments which are expected from juniors, and then from mid-level experienced people, the intensity of that will be even more. And then as your experience goes, you're expected to know these things to a more greater extent and more confident extent. Okay? So it's not like juniors are not supposed to know all that. So today we will really get down to, in an end-to-end IT journey, what all are the major checkpoints, topics which everybody is supposed to know, and then you have to work parallelly on top of that. Okay? Now I'm coming up with a short activity while the program is happening. Okay? So everybody make some running notes about this. Ek kaam karna hai, simple. Okay? We will list down the topic. Okay? Then we will take some, like what exactly that topic is, I will explain you. And then you, based upon your current experience in the industry, no matter what it is, okay, or if you're a job seeker beginner, check your current knowledge for this point and try to score yourself from 1 to 10. Okay, so there are going to be multiple topics which we will touch. Now you try to score yourself from 1 to 10 based upon what you feel, how much good you are. If you're putting 10, that means you are like excellent, superb in that. If you're putting 1, so 1 is the lowest star and 10 is the highest one. You can be honest to yourself, score yourself 1 to 10 for each of the topic based upon your current experience level. Okay? So the same topic may be from seniors, we might expect it to a better angle. From juniors, it might be lesser expectation. So with lesser expectation, if you are meeting it, so junior should put it like 8-pointer or 9-pointer. If the same work is done by the seniors, so senior basically makes it 5 or a 6-pointer. Okay? So basically we will touch a topic, then you score from 1 to 10, where do you think you belong there. And once the full activity is done, then you have to then prioritize how you should further grow in your industry and your growth area. So whichever are important items, you have to make sure that you're crossing minimum 7 as part of that. Anything less than 7 is bad. And in my opinion, 8 tak to jana chahiye. Okay, 8 or above should be there. That means you're really excelling in your career. Okay. Now that's what a simple activity, 1 hour session is going to help you to pinpoint on these areas and identify what more needs to be worked upon. But in your projects, somewhere or the other, these things will be coming. Okay. Now, majorly these things will be targeted towards, yes, an end-to-end working process. So majorly it will be required for developers primarily. Okay, so be it UI developers or server developers. Okay, but there will be some topics which we will touch for, let's say, DBAs or QA members or DevOps related guys. There will be some areas where those guys will jump in, but otherwise, yes, a long list from application development perspective we are going to discuss. Okay, so chalo, let's get started. I'm sharing my screen and you guys also start gearing up. So don't keep listening to somewhere else, mind somewhere else, get into focused attention. Okay, let the game begin. Okay. And I was really working on this today sometime during the day, and I thought this is really important information which needs to be shared. And that's where I felt the more people who can take benefit, it is going to be more useful for them. Okay, chalo, let's get started. Sharing the screen. Okay, chalo, let's get started. IT project journey, everybody. Let's go. Okay, so they go. First topic. What do we do in the IT? Okay, is simple functional development. So write down the first topic, guys. Functional development. Okay, and the definition of that is something given any requirement by the customer, are you able to code that requirement, meet the requirement and give the feature back? Matlab, are you able to code independently, maybe using Google, maybe using somewhat with other people, but you should not be blank here, I am not able to do this task. Okay, so that is what is functional development. There is a requirement, you should be able to code and give the system back. And at different experience levels, different expectations will be there. If you are junior, then yes, some support is expected. We are not expecting you to be fully independent. There might be some seniors who might guide you wherever you are blocked, but you have to do some hard work. Okay? You have to try from yourself, see what's working, what's not working, take those analysis, then talk to seniors. Okay? So juniors should score themselves based upon yes, sometimes you will be stuck, sometimes other support will be required, and all of these things should keep happening. Okay, so now that is the first point, write it down. Functional development. Okay, ability to code and give the requirement back. Okay, now try to just see where do you belong from 1 to 10 as part of this area. Okay, juniors can expect some support from others. If you don't even know can you code a functionality, that means you have to put it at a 1 pointer. Not being aware is a problem. If you don't know how much depth you are in, that's a problem. Okay, and at least for juniors, simple functionalities you should be able to do. Even medium functionalities might become challenging, but somehow with support you should be able to do. Okay, simple to medium. If it is medium wise and complex wise, so juniors, even if you're not able to do, that's not a problem. But as you cross 3+ years of experience, medium complexity you should be able to do, and even more complicated item also to some extent you should be able to manage. So accordingly, put yourself 0 to 3 score differently, 3 to maybe 5 or 3 to 6 score differently, 7+ तो बहुत ही अच्छा होना चाहिए in this area. ठीक है, चलो functional requirement, ability to code and meet the requirement. ठीक है, and this is the heart. No matter what you do in your IT industry, this is the bare minimum. This cannot be ignored. You have to be good in this area. Okay, maybe shabby work, that is okay, but you have to be good. Now, second, okay, following coding standards. Score yourself in this one, 1 to 10. If you don't know what coding standards are, it's a one, and then you have to work for studying what these standards are. How does the industry people code? Because many a times when we get juniors from the market, interns or any juniors or who have not worked on the project, they do really very shabby coding. Matlab, the code is not in a form that even we can take it to production. It's that bad in terms of the way they code. एक method के अंदर they are writing full bulk logic. There is no clarity in separation. Reusability is missing. Naming conventions are not proper. The code looks ugly when you see, and you know that it is very risky to take it to production because it is not following some defined standards by which IT industry expects things to be. Okay, so you need to know this standard and you need to apply that. Now take it out there. Now in this, you try to compare on two areas. If you are a backend developer, you should even focus on database standards also. If you're writing procedures, how should that be? Okay, so database standards are also very essential. Name of the procedures, name of the fields, name of the tables. Okay, those things are also required, plus backend part. Plus front-end guys will also have their own standards. How to design components, how to make components reusable, how to make the styling reusable. Okay, one side you modify, like you have to design components reusable. One side you modify, it reflects to all the other places. The styling, if you are doing, it has to be done. So there is a right way of doing it. Okay, it's very much scattered as part of front end. The more hard work will be required to know those standards and follow those disciplines. Okay, so considering all these aspects, if you are a backend programmer, consider database plus backend knowledge, and if you're front end, maybe only front end knowledge, but score yourself. Okay, how do you stand here? Okay, be honest to yourself. That's it. Okay. Third, now this is required for all the three parties: UI, server, as well as the QA people. Okay, testers also very important, and maybe all the other guys also if you are in IT industry, because this is API standards. Okay, generally REST standards. This is something which many people in the projects are struggling with. They don't get it right. And the world has really gone way far. This is the bare minimum which somebody is supposed to know. Okay. What are API standards? API is nothing but when you call a method publicly, right? Over, let's say, whatever, Spring Boot or anything that you know. So xyz.com/user/login /user/register /user/transfer money /user/update phone number. So nothing but what is happening is there will be endpoint. Now already I am assuming that you guys know all these things because this is the day-to-day terminologies that we use in the projects. Okay, write an API, endpoint, expose an endpoint. That means you need to write a method, expose it publicly so that it will be called from the UI side. So what is the endpoint URL? Okay, which includes the naming for that. Next, how are you using the HTTP like head, get, post, put, delete. All these are the HTTP standards, protocol standards. You need to use it effectively. In a getter method, you should never update. Technically, you can code it like that, but you should not do it. It's violation of the HTTP standards. If there is a getter method, it should only query and give you the result. It should not update the database. If you want to update anything, that's what your methods have to be clear, and that's what is following the HTTP standards. So you have to focus on how you use these methods. You have to focus on HTTP response codes. HTTP response codes. Okay, 200 series, 400 series, 500 series. How every code needs to be taken care, and everybody should know it. UI person should know, server guy should know, QA tester should know. It's a mandatory thing because the world is talking based upon HTTP. It can be coded in a wrong manner, but you should know what's the right way. I'm not going to tell you today what needs to be done and what is the right way. I'll just touch the topics. You guys have to explore it and learn it. Then only you will remember it. And thoda sa come out of that student mentality or junior mentality, everything should be made ready-made and given to you, because industry doesn't work like that. You're supposed to explore everything on your own, do the POC, get the understanding, and work independently. Such people succeed in the career. Others will always become baggage on other people. So don't become that. So be confident. Nahi aata hai to seekhte. Let's learn it. Everything is available on internet. Let's see, learn, read, make some sense about it, apply. So that's what API standards. Okay, what is the endpoint URL? What is the naming? We are streaming it on YouTube, so maybe you can go through the session back again for any points as well. Next, this and this one. Okay. So score yourself 1 to 10. Where do you belong? If you don't know how to use these things properly, put it as low. Be honest to yourself. Okay. Take a few seconds for this. And next, fourth one. So everybody, please do all these things together. These are basic essentials for any project. Okay. Next, database basics. If you are a backend developer, you need to know database. As simple as that. Okay. In my total 13 years of experience, I have always seen the developers working on the database. If there is a database developer, those guys are only DBAs, which comes for performance tuning or advanced queries. But you are supposed to design your own tables, write your own queries, write even database procedures. In my full 13 years, I have seen this. There might be some other company, some other project where there are some other people, but I have never seen that in my 13 years from different projects, different people. Now, maybe the world is different at other side, but you cannot give it that somebody else should come and do it for you. You need to have the basic database knowledge. Okay, right ways to design tables, joins, primary keys, foreign keys, next indexes to be applied, okay, and how your queries will work on bigger data set. Same simple queries if you write, if the data size is like 1 lakh, 10 lakhs, 50 lakhs, the query is not going to perform properly. So you need to have some sense ki whatever query you are writing, how much it will be impacted. Otherwise, non-production where everything is happy, you go to production and day one itself, it's blasting. System is stuck because the data size in production is way different than the non-prod. So you need to have that sense, okay, how the queries will work, and even basic PLSQL knowledge is required. Because there might be projects where you will be writing these things. Okay, so this is basic. I'm not saying this is anything advanced. You need to know these things because it might be your day-to-day life. Application development plus database. So score yourself how much database 1 out of 10 you feel. Okay, chalo, take a few seconds and do it. Don't spend too much time. We understood it. Just write it down. Okay. Next, fifth area. And everything you might have to do in your projects. Okay, so try to really learn and abide. Okay, now the fifth one. Okay, commenting and documentation. Just put the title, commenting and documentation. Dekho, long-term big projects cannot exist without comment and documentation. Chota project, it's in the beginning stages, it is okay. But as the project grows, without the right comments, why this method is used, why this class is used, and without right API documentation, many times in the company, these APIs that you're writing, it will be exposed to some other people for integration. Or even in some companies, server people develop these APIs and give it to the UI guys for integration. So that has to have a proper API documentation. I'm not saying time pass for a documentation. This is valuable. It is needed API documentation. Okay, what should be the request structure? What should be the response structure? How to interpret success? How to interpret failure? What is the name? Okay, all this API documentation, and it has to be concrete. Now, there are some tools available, maybe like Swagger, which might be doing this activity. Sometimes people do it via Postman collections, they get this documentation. But some approach has to be there for getting this documentation. Okay. Even if at junior level, you're at beginner, but try to do it because every API has to have some documentation attached to it. Now, score yourself. Okay, how much nicely you code and to what level of API documentation you really think for every method that you write. Nahi aata hai? Right, come likh lo. Then you have to prioritize it and then come up with your own learning plan. Okay. Again, everything is, I'm not saying everything has to be done immediately, but in the next 2 months, try to really upgrade in all these areas. Then you will become the person which the industry needs. Okay. Next, sixth. Okay. Design and modularity. Write down the sixth one, everyone. Design and modularity. देखो, your basic thing comes ki people will start talking whenever design term comes. People start speaking a solid principle and all the design patterns which they know, factory, this, that. Okay. Dekho, the point is you need to have genuine understanding of these things. Okay. Not theoretical. There are so many people in interview, you ask them ki, okay, like what design principles and all, they give a lot of bookish knowledge. But you just simply ask, okay, in your project, explain us some situation. Okay, what was the use case and how did you implement that design pattern? Okay, in their project, and there itself people are not able to do it. That means they don't even have understanding. They cannot even think on the fly in the interview and then tell it out. That means theoretical knowledge is anyways not going to work in interviews. You need to have understanding of that. And if you use mugged up statements, now let me tell you, like, I've been taking interviews since past 7 years. If somebody gives me a bookish mugged up statement, okay, I said, okay, now theory is done. Please explain me in proper human language. Whatever you said, it's a theoretical statement. I'm fine. Now give me a proper example and talk to me. Explain it to me. I don't want a theoretical definition. I want to know how much you actually know that concept. And then give me examples. Tell it in your projects. How did you apply? And then I will cross question on that. And then I will know how much you actually know the stuff. And that's what is required from working professionals. Junior se fir bhi theory de rahe, we will be okay. But at least you need to have that understanding. Now, when we say design and modularity, we want you to really know the concept. If we ask you, okay, in your projects, where, what you have applied, you should tell that answer, but it should not look bookish. Not because you know singular pattern and you start giving that thing singular pattern essay use kiya. You have to explain it so nicely in interview that it genuinely gives a feeling that you know what design is, what modularity is, what solid principles, and don't give theory about solid principles. Explain your understanding. What do you understand out of solid stuff? Maybe it's not required to know everything of solid, but at least uska O or I pakad lo, and then explain only that. And don't really structure it, it is solid principle. Just try to say, okay, these few things we applied like this, and then I have been reading about solid, so there we do a lot of stuff. So, but make it human communication during interview. That shows your true understanding. Now, this is what is required. From design and modularity, your understanding of the concepts. Okay. Next, can you relate it with your projects? Okay, where to use what? And it has to be reusable, easy to understand, okay, easy to modify. Okay, so those kind of principles have to be there. And then all single module, this, that, blah, blah, blah. But you need to have thorough understanding. Now write down the few things about it. Score it down. Okay, 1 to 10. The point is you will find a lot of material on this, but understanding you have to develop. And it will come only the more you read, the more you explore. Okay, understanding cannot, nobody can give you ready-made. And you saw on that day ChatGPT, we just Googled it, can you convert this code into modular code, and it did it. So maybe you use ChatGPT for explanation. Put your code there and ask ChatGPT, make it modular. And then it will even explain you why it happened, and then try to analyze, right? It's all possible to learn it in a proper manner. Chalo, next point. Score yourself 1 to 10. And again, these things are also required. Day-to-day coding will have this database basic. So far, whatever we covered, it is required right from junior to experienced people. At different expectations will be there. Juniors may, even if they make a few mistakes, we are fine with that. But as you get more senior, it's mandatory for you to know it, no exceptions. And that's what, as you get more senior, these things become the default expectation. And if you don't meet it, that's a negative performance for you. Okay, okay, next. Okay, applying unit testing on day-to-day code. Unit testing is not a 2 hours job where you just take up a course and understand it. You have to build unit testing into the system. You need to know what unit testing is. You need to know the value of unit testing and then implement unit testing into your system on a regular basis. Okay. So just important thing about it, it's very valuable. Okay. Why? Let's say if a project is 3 years old project, there is so much of code which has been written since past 3 years. Let's say in the 4th year, somebody modifies some code. Now, humanly, it is not possible to verify all the features which were developed for past 3 years. But in such case, this unit testing suite which runs, that will tell okay, with the new code is something in the old system breaking. Okay, and that is where quality assurance will be proper if there are unit testing in the system. That's where big systems, stable, accomplished systems, for them it is mandatory to understand the need of that. Okay, and in the earlier times, it was taking, let's say, 2 days of development to maybe 1 day for unit testing, or sometimes even 2 days for unit testing. So 2 days of development, 2 days of unit testing. But you now saw with ChatGPT, you just give the Java file, it's coding it immediately. So speed up over ye cheez. Okay, so but yes, use some tools, whatever it is, but do it and now try to measure what is your understanding on unit testing and applying it on a day-to-day basis. Where do you stand? Score yourself 1 to 10 in that. Guys, don't need to care about whether it's happening in your projects or not. These are the standards which are supposed to be followed. And if it is not there in your project, you add it and you take your systems forward. This is how A players are emerged. You support your team to get that, still meet the business requirements. Okay, but yeah, so score yourself. Okay, now next, you need to understand and have thorough knowledge, hands-on knowledge on multiple tools which are used in end-to-end project development cycle. All the tools which are required. And when somebody says even if you are a fresher, you join in and you start using these tools on the day one itself. Even fresher joins in and does it in the day one itself. So if there is anyone in the team, let's say right now in this call, having 1 year experience, 2 years of experience, or claiming that experience and not having any knowledge, or worked in a project only for 2 years, but did not work anything hands-on, you got a job in the company, but not allocated to project, such people, market expectations will be different from you. When you say that you have 2 years experience and this is a basic day-to-day stuff, if you struggle with this, it becomes कि यार इतना basic बच्चे को आता है ये इसको नहीं आ रहा है. That gives a negative impression straight away. So you have to focus and be really comfortable using these tools. If you are having some experience, let's say 2+ experience, or even 1+ वालों को भी, it's expected for them to know it. Okay, showing a blank face is a big problem. So you have to spend time in learning these tools. Okay, what will be required for end-to-end development cycle? Okay, few of the basic things you always know. Repository will be there, right? Git, Bitbucket, or any XYZ repository, mandatory for any project. IDEs will be mandatory for every project. You need to know all the shortcuts and comfort of working with IDEs, Eclipse, Visual Studio, and those kind of whatever IDEs, whether it's UI server side. Okay, next there will be some build tools like Maven, Gradle, stuff like that. Okay. Next, logging is basic. You need to know that. Okay. Next, how to do deployments, right? There will be tools for like dev environment, like tools for deployment. There will be DevOps team. Okay. And again, not every project is going to have a DevOps team. So for many of the projects, the developers itself will be doing that work. So you need to know how to connect to that environment, how to do the deployment. And that too, even if the DevOps team is there, they'll not take care of your dev environments. Okay, they will take care of maybe the stage environments, production kind of environments. And maybe the dev wise, you are supposed to do your own build and deploy activity. Maybe they'll create some pipeline for you and give it. But otherwise, you have to know all those things and be able to do that. Day-to-day tools will be there, which you have to apply. Okay, now this is what will come. And plus you try to explore anything else like Postman, which comes in, and like there are a lot of list of tools. Okay, Jira, one basic tool is available, and build ho gaya, deploy ho gaya, connect ho gaya, remote, logging is done. Sometimes in your project, Kibana will be there. So you even need to know those kind of tools. So you will get more knowledge, but at least basic day-to-day coding ke liye, whatever tools are required, you need to know that. Okay, basic day-to-day coding, some tools will be there. You can speak with anybody, connect to working professionals on LinkedIn, ask them questions, or ask it to ChatGPT. What are the day-to-day tools which software engineers use for developing projects in Java? Sab kuch mil jayega. All the information is available. You just need to get it. That's it. Okay, now just put score 1 to 10. Where do you see how much comfortable you are working with tools? Because this is a day-to-day role, guys. Okay. If you don't know, so you should score yourself less. So first step is knowing the knowledge depth. Self-awareness is the step one for anything. Okay. And again, juniors are supposed to know it, seniors are supposed to know it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, chalo, next, 9th. Static code analyzer. Okay. Static code analyzer, something like Sonar, Sonar Lint, Sonar Cube. This is something very popular. Many projects use it. There is a different static code analyzer even for the UI team. They have to also install something. Okay, I'm not aware of not able to recollect the name right now, but there is static code analysis. Now, what does this tool do? Okay, whatever code is written, this tool is going to continuously scan that code and recommend you some improvements if something is written in a wrong manner, like vulnerabilities, problem, risky code. So this tool, if you really use this, and I would highly suggest everybody, whether it's there or in your project or not there, try to speak with your seniors and say, at least you start using it on a day-to-day basis in your project. It will help you to improve in your coding like anything. You write some code, the tool scans it and tells you where the problems are there. It even suggests you on how to solve. And who are good professionals? Those who read these suggestions, understand why it is required, understand what mistake you made, and then correct the changes. And that's how people become more knowledgeable in industry. So you need to take some time out to study on how to improve in your day-to-day coding practice. And I think the static code analyzer is a nice thing for that. There will be some code where, some projects where, if the code is not passing through this static code analyzer, it will not be even allowed to commit it. Allowed to commit matlab, like Bitbucket me or anywhere, the code will not be even taken for release cycle. If you have not written it, which passes all the rules of, let's say, Sonar, it will be like big violation. Code review me itself, they will say, okay, first fix these problems, then only we'll take it. Okay, now that means you need to write proper code, and that is where now, okay, just score yourself, okay, how much of static code analysis you are aware of. And I think while you're doing, let's say, even your day-to-day coding and practice, implement this, plug this in your system and start practicing it out. Free milte hai ye sare cheeze. Okay, majority of these tools will be freely available. explore how to set up and start using. You will become better. Because somebody said me this thing like 13 years ago when I was starting for IT industry. Okay, I'll tell you this key important thing. When I was starting for the IT industry 13 years ago, I was really worried. I need to get the job. My family dependencies are there. This is there, that is there, and job was not coming. It has always been hard. It was not coming that easy. If you're directly selected via campus, then it's a different story. But otherwise, for many of the people, it is a struggle, and that's what it is. Okay, and I was worried, broken down in confidence. At that time, like my brother-in-law, he reached out to me, and I was really sitting in a very tensed manner. Ki yaar, problem chal raha hai life mein and all that. Okay, he was from the IT industry itself. He said, Ki I've seen that there are many people who come and they are not able to perform well and they feel a lot of tension and pressure and they even leave the IT industry also. Do you want to be such person? Or do you want to really get into the industry and succeed like anything? मैं बोला भाई succeed करना है. So then he said, then what do you know about industry and how you're ready for taking on this big challenge of industry? मैं बोला college knowledge. He said college में कुछ नहीं होता. Whatever is taught in the college, it is not even 5% of what is required in industry. Okay, palindrome nahi aata hai. Right? So it doesn't come. Then I said, then what should I do? He said, go take up courses. He recommended me Ameerpet mein jao. Bole ki doesn't matter even if it takes you 6 months there, 1 year there, go and learn. Because what you will learn there, based upon that, you can build a very successful career. Forget, like for past 21 years of your life or 19, jitna bhi graduation time, he said for that much you were not earning and still the family was okay. Even if you don't work for next 1 year, nothing will happen to the family. They will still be okay. But without a strong foundation, if you get in, your life will become miserable and you will move out as well. So then I got ki, haan, sahi bol raha. And then when I went for this training of Ameerpet, Natra sir and all that, I was so much amazed. Ki, bhai, what is the in-depth knowledge which they give? And then I told myself, why now seekhna hai? I don't want to rush for getting job. I will learn this to the best I can. And then from there, the journey started. Daily 13 hours, 14 hours of hard work for 6 months, 8 months. And then I get the confidence ki now give me a job and I will crack it. And then the first interview after that, I cracked it and went into the IT. So if you're prepared nicely, everything will happen. Okay, so I'm just telling you, these are the things which are must-haves, which will give you advantage compared to those people. Oh, like yesterday we said 70% is crap. So to have an edge over these people, you need to belong in that good quality individuals. When you talk smart, you think, you speak, you're confident because you have practiced it enough. And then guys, it is just starting. And like I built a 13 years career from that point, which is always growing and growing. Never look back. That's what I want to tell you. Okay, all this thing, if you master it and practice it, not theoretically, but practice it, code it. Even if it takes next 3 months for doing this, it's a big deal. Take it, learn it, and then you walk in for interviews with so much of practice of so many nice things. And then you talk so smartly, you will be like, I want this guy. Interviewers will be like, Kare, kya knowledge hai uska yaar bande? And you have to do things practically, not theory. It will not work out. When you do things, you will make mistakes in that. Learn from those mistakes. Guys, dedicate next 14 hours every single day towards becoming somebody and you will make an amazing career. Khali job lena hai, without preparation, it's not going to work out. I've seen people crying in the IT industry. I've seen laptops being thrown on the ground in the IT industry because of frustration. I've seen people having 7 years experience quitting jobs. I'm not able to deal with this pressure. I've seen people reaching out to me saying, doctor has given me tablets. I cannot deal with so much of tension. Please give me less work. Why all this? Because people are not able to manage themselves properly in industry to grow. And then job becomes easy. Otherwise, you're inviting problems for your own life. IT is not, it gives a lot of money. Okay, it's a very good market compared to any other industry. It pays a lot of money, but you have to become worthy for that. Okay, and crying, complaining se kuch nahi hota. You have to earn your spot there. So understand, hard work and really becoming capable, and people want these capable people. And 70% is not capable in the market. Know it. And you should never belong in that part of crap. and it's all possible for you to upgrade. So focus on that. Chalo, next. Moving to the 10th point. Okay, बीच में थोड़ा सा pumping हो गया. ठीक है. Next one, API testing using Postman. Postman is just one of a tool. Okay, you need to know how to do API testing. All the three guys, UI also, server also, QA also. Everybody needs to know how to do API testing. UI team will be mocking the APIs, getting the response. Server team will develop the APIs, test it via Postman, see the response. Testers might again do the testing, everything based upon API testing, like via Postman. So it is a required knowledge. So score yourself from 1 to 10, how much you know this. And what is API testing? Okay, if I give this request, what should be the response? Is the success code coming properly? Error codes coming properly? Is all possibilities of input handled in the API? Okay, so all of that proper testing, like security wise, username, password validations, tokens that are being passed, is all that thing also proper? Okay, so all this comes as part of API testing. And if you don't know it, just start Googling. ChatGPT mein pooch lo what is required to know. You will find a list of all the checkpoints which you see. Okay, now score yourself. Kitna aata hai? Okay, next, move on. 11th point, performance testing. There are some tools called as Jmeter. Not every project will have this, but it might be required anytime if your project is at a bigger load and a lot of customers will be using it. They might say, the developers itself, why performance test your system, whether it's working and how many concurrent users can the system serve. So performance tuning has to be even understood. So tools like Jmeter, you can mimic the performance, like let's say 500 users per second traffic you generate. And then let's see how the APIs are responding, at what time it fails. And then you have to think about the server configuration, how many codes you are using, how many RAM size is there. And then you have to draw those boundaries. Okay, with 200 users, we are able to serve this traffic with, let's say, 4 core and 8 GB or 12 GB RAM. Okay, with that 200 requests, we are able to serve per second, and it is staying stable for 2 hours. Then next, so you have to do that kind of tuning as part of performance metrics. And if it is not working, if it is failing, you have to analyze. Yahan pe thoda aa jata hai heap dump and thread dumps. Okay, again, not every project will have it, so I would say consider it at a lower priority. It might not be required at a day-to-day job, but someday if you're senior, you should definitely know this stuff. Juniors ke liye, okay, fine, you can ignore it, but knowing it will always be better for you. Okay, so chalo, score yourself. Okay, next, security testing. Is your code not violating core security principles? Okay, देखो अभी या कोई अपने माँ के पेट से सीख के नहीं आता है security testing करना. Okay, so these are again simple stuff. Static code analyzer like Sonar can help you with this. Or there are paid softwares like SP45. I used both Sonar as well as SP45. Okay, ST45 scanner. So these are again tools which runs on your code and tells the security vulnerabilities. Okay, if the passwords are logged somewhere, and there are a lot of other things where it can get stuck with violating the security breaches, or let's say CVV of card should not be stored in your system. So this tool is going to do a lot of those kind of predefined security principles, and generally those things are run. And if you have Sonar, it is really going to help you to at least not violate the major concerns. Okay, so just put again score on this one. Okay, next, end-to-end working process of the project, right from requirement till go live. Who are the people involved? What do they do? You need to know the end-to-end picture. For big companies maybe बहुत spread हो जाता है, but you need to have a bigger knowledge of what is going to happen in your dev environment, QA stage, production, who are the people doing what. That full big picture is required, then only you can do something good in the IT industry. So that's the next one. Write it down. End-to-end working process of the project. Who does what? And again, score yourself as part of this. Okay. And guys, as part of the database basics, there we even spoke about indexing and something. So keep that. Okay. Performance ko thoda sa keep it in mind. Okay. Now, next term. 14th. API security. Just write down API security. Again, it might look like new terms, but it is very basic. Okay. If you understand, one time hota hai cheeze. If you understand it, life becomes so much simple. Okay. Like you might already know this term, right? JWT token. Right? JWT token. Standards. Okay. Private public key based encryption decryption. This is called as like maybe certificate based verification. Okay. And there might be many other ways of ensuring that the request is genuine. Okay. So these kind of protocols will be there, algorithms will be there, tokens will be generated for ensuring the validity and authentication and authorization. All that comes here. Authentication, authorization. What is authentication, authorization? First of all, if tausief user is trying to call the system for login, is tausief user valid? So I'll pass my credential, system says valid or not based upon any of these principles. It will be validated. Now, how to implement this? That's what you have to explore. Next, if it says valid, and after that tausief is calling some other API with the token which is given as part of this. If I call the second API, then you should see whether tausief has access for that API also or not. So sometime in the system, these kind of authorization levels will be there. Okay, tausief can access only these 3 endpoints, not the 4th endpoint. So that level of thinking should be already there ki oh, aise chalta hai. And then you try to see it in the project ki how this authorization and role-based access people generally say. Based upon role, access will be provided. Role-based access for APIs. So just see, these are some essential things. Every project might have some variation of this. Okay, it's required. Here again, it comes even to third-party whitelisting. Just be aware of this. In the real world, there might be integrations between a lot of services. Your environment is different. Some other environment is different. It is called as a third-party integration. Okay. And if these people call you, so their static IP will be there, which needs to be whitelisted at your site to allow the request to come. ठीक है, I'll explain it separately. थोड़ा mix नहीं करते, okay? थोड़ा third party को बाहर रखते हैं. Okay, keep it simple. Right now, stick to this. Score yourself to what extent you know it. At least build some POCs about how to use these OAuths, JWT tokens, and how to look for authentication and authorization with these protocols. And try to code it in your application. Dekho guys, it's a good journey. Every project mein kahin na kahin all these things will come. Take some time to understand. Don't get into panic situation ki ye hai, wo hai, kitna kuch karna hai. But if you know all this, automatically when you talk in interview, lot of maturity is going to come. Your words will itself sense ki arey, banda bahut knowledgeable. Otherwise, considering only basic stuff, you're talking the same technology, the same coding, how to do this, how to do that. But when you talk about all these things, it just strikes the eye. So be hands-on in this. Your value will be more. Okay, fine. Chalo, next. Okay, 15th. Now let's take this topic near itself, understanding third-party integrations. Let's take some time here to understand third-party integrations. This is very common. This is very common. Like, it's for many projects, I have always seen this happening. So it might be like your first project and you might have to do it. Okay. So it is very expected. So you should know. Okay. Now let's understand the situation. There are, let's say, your company which is working on a project. Okay. Now there is a requirement of currency conversion. Just a simple example. Okay. Currency conversion ke right now USD to INR ka price chahiye. Okay. Every website has that kind of thing. Now, generally what is required is ki yes, so when the purchasing is happening, you need to take the latest currency conversion. Accordingly, the amount of payment might be charged. Okay, if you do any transaction is happening from USD to INR, INR to USD, so the latest currency conversion factor has to be taken, applied, and then the business logic should be written further, right? Now the thing is, how will you get these latest currency conversions? Because it is constantly changing. So in the real world, there are some people who are exposing some paid services. Some free services might also be there, but paid services are more reliable. So they are exposing paid services, nothing but REST endpoints will be given by those people, which is deployed in a complete separate environment somewhere else, in some other part of the world. Now, what has happened is your project will be running, let's say, in a Europe area, and that guy has deployed something in, let's say, Australia. So two different environments, different data centers, two different companies. Now that company API needs to be invoked by you guys. And there are also integrations. So this is called as third party, somebody outside your system. And this is very common. Many projects in a lot of forms will have these third parties. Now there are two cases possible. Your system calls their API. That is case one. Second, their system calls your API. Now you need to know the basics about how these things have to be built up. What are the security principles required here? What are the standards required? How the API documentation has to be processed? That is where comes the maturity of how to do these third-party integrations. Okay. And this is very common for project. If you're junior, maybe somebody else might be there, but the way the IT world is growing, right? Even juniors ko bol dete seedhe task le kar le, without much preparation also. In such cases, you would have to explore a lot of things by your own self. So, piece it out. Knowing this awareness will be easy. Now, how to exactly do this API integration? Now, let me give you a simple case. So, first of all, again, we spoke about this API documentation earlier. Now is where it's needed. So, this company, third-party company, will share some API documentation to you guys. Okay, these are our endpoints. This is the request structure. These are the response structure. This is how you say success. This is how you say failure. If connection timeout happens, then what will happen? And blah, blah, blah. All that will be given in a documentation. Then you write all that in your code. Then some API security protocol will also be given by those people. Okay, bhai, if you want to call our API, this is the authentication mechanism. You pass us these credentials, this, that, blah, blah, blah. So you have to code all of those things properly. Next, they will give you a non-production environment for testing first. You cannot directly point to their production environment. So they will give you a non-production environment. And then in your non-production, you need to point to their non-production and see whether the integration is working. If it works, then they will give you the production credentials. And then you have to do the setup on production. And then you call their production endpoint. This is all happening as a day-to-day job in the projects. So you should not be blank when such conversations are happening. You should actively involve in all these things. And when your environment talking to their environment, so how are we ensuring on that IP whitelisting will be coming here as one of a very default process. Okay, you will give your static IP of your system to those guys and they will whitelist that IP. So you have to make sure your system is having one static IP. This is where AWS basic knowledge is required of how to set up a static outgoing IP to your system so that third party can call it. like third party, before processing it, it checks whether your IP is there, and by that way they get something. Similarly, when they are trying to call to you, you have to take their IP, you have to set it up. Next, you have to expose some, again, API security based credentials or something which they call, and then you validate it, कि हाँ, my genuine user hai, and then only you process it. So you have to also take care of it like that. Next, this world of calling is getting so much scattered in the industry now. ये तो basic हो गया, एक machine दूसरा machine. But now in the world, okay, there is a lot of security breaches which people are trying to do. They are trying to hack the system. There are hackers trying to run tools in production system to really break the systems. Okay, and it's getting like huge. It happened like many times in my projects. I have seen those kind of threats coming. Okay, why pay us so much of money? We have taken your database. We have done this. We have done that. So you have to really build a very protective system against these kind of violations which might happen in the globe. So abhi karte karte kya, AWS people, they thought, oh, so people are actually targeting APIs and trying to do that. So AWS guys developed something called as AWS Gateway Keeper, where it takes care of a lot of this kind of mess and tries to avoid it. Okay. Recently, I think you might be aware, like 3 months ago, 6 months ago, sometime, this log4j vulnerability came. All the production projects, they were like, if a log4j, that version is being used, your project is at risk. It happened across the globe for all the projects. They attacked, the attackers attacked the vulnerability of log4j. Okay, and it was required overnight. All the company people were jumping in upgrading the log4j versions. These kind of things can happen. Okay, but in our project, so there were some projects where AWS gateway keepers were used, where the AWS guys itself, Fataxe, implemented some solution of blocking these vulnerabilities. Versus those projects where it was not available, they really struggled. They had to change entire code and redeploy their system. But for some of the projects, life was simple because of these tools which were used. So you need to understand. We use some kind of Google products for doing this as well. Okay, AppyG. We worked on some project where instead of AWS Gateway Keeper, we used AppyG. There are some other products also available in market which does this kind of channeling. Okay, whenever somebody wants to call you an API, it comes in a protected manner from there. And this Beachka section does a lot of security proofing. So you need to know these things. Again, you might say, I'm a junior, why should I really know? But this is what is the IT industry. And out of curiosity, you should know all this thing. Because the more curious you are, the more you understand how the projects work, where is the complexity, what are the challenges, the better professional you will become. And the sooner you do it, the faster you will grow in your career. Because your experience doesn't matter. If you can gain so much of knowledge in less time, you will start rapidly moving forward in career. Industry में ये नहीं देखते भाई इसको 4 साल experience है. Maybe people with 2 years experience might be way too smarter, and they will be given bigger opportunities than even people with 5 years experience. So your knowledge will talk on behalf of you. Okay, your knowledge will talk on behalf of you. So now, just whatever we spoke so far, third-party API integration knowledge, try to score yourself. Where do you stand from 1 to 10 in this area? Okay. Okay. I think for today, 15 points are enough. We are not done yet. Because I did not want it to rush through the list also, but I don't really want to give you half list as well. I try to give to the best of my knowledge, whatever I can relate. Okay, there might be something here and there, but just the core things which any project will have, I'm trying to give those pointers. So today we were able to touch 15. There are maybe 10 more pointers which might be required as well. So we will continue that tomorrow. Thoda job seekers ka, uske baad we will be taking. We still have 3 days for this workshop. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay? Usme job seeking strategies also and all. But tomorrow we will first continue with these techniques and then we will reach to the next one. Okay? Plus, if you have now questions, as part of today's attendance form, mark those questions. Okay? So mark those questions in the feel free to share your thoughts. Usme aage kya hai questions. Okay? Last Thursday wale questions, so we will consider that plus add more and we will try to see it through. Okay, so understanding few things, guys, it's important, it's key. If you got something out of the session, put it in chat key. Yeah, something I got. Okay, these are like key things, essential things, needed things. Okay, and if you talk like this during interviews, you will be considered like higher genuine bande. Okay, you have in-depth knowledge, and I think first you should start exploring about each of the topic that we said today. Okay, start exploring on each of the topic that we said today. That will be useful. Okay, chalo. And next coming topics we will speak about the rest. So now let me give the attendance and then we will be closing the session today. Okay, March attendance, take the link. And whatever you understood or you did not understand, write a summary as part of today's attendance. So accordingly, I can see to what depth we want to touch further. Okay. Nitesh is saying, "Aankh khul gayi." Okay, guys, pasting the attendance link in the chat. The code for today is, let's say, 5959. This is the link. Everyone in the meeting, go. And guys, somebody saying I'm a job seeker and all that. So this is required. This is required for job seekers. You can use this information like anything while cracking the interview. You will be considered very valuable. Otherwise, you will just be part of the crowd. Because this is how projects happen. If you're a fresher job seeker, story is different. But if you have some experience and job seeker, your story is different. You need to know bigger things than just how to do functional coding. That's one part of a full project development life cycle. मेहनत तो लगेगी भाई. Everything is important. Okay. And guys, even with no experience for freshers, you need to put projects. Okay. Freshers without projects, without much practical knowledge of projects are not valued much in industry. Okay, you need to put projects. Ke bhai, maine internship kiya hai, and I know this about that. I have done this, I have done that. Such people get filtered even as freshers. Okay. Otherwise, big companies might come take it from campus. But if you're targeting from outside without project knowledge, fresher life is going to be very tough. It doesn't work actually. So you need to put project. You might have to say, I did some internship somewhere, or in my college, I did this project, that project, or did some freelancing, but kuch to karke, you have to have projects with you. And that will come with more knowledge. Okay, acha, how did you work on those projects? What if I do my self project? Chalenga, okay, but it is still, if there are two people, one who have done proper internship, other who has not done, so internship wala will get a bigger value than self project value. And that value might be double than self project value, because self mein we know kitna zyada nahi seekhta hai banda. Okay. Which type of project is required? We will take all these fresher related job seeking questions as part of coming workshops, guys. Okay. Chalo, thank you everybody and have a nice day. See you guys later. Okay. Chalo, take care of yourself and have a nice, fantastic day. See you guys later, everybody. Chalo, thanks. Bye. Have a nice day.